Let's continue our conversation on Stoicism, where we were going over the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. We had landed in Book 12, and I would like to talk today about one of the shortest sections. It's only one sentence. It's very often quoted, and for reason, I think. I don't know how much I have to say about this, but I do think this is an axiom to bear in mind. Section 17. If it is not right, don't do it. If it is not true, don't say it. Yeah. Marcus Aurelius has had a wonderful way of brevity, sometimes to the point of being caustic in how incredibly to the point and pointed his remarks were. If it's not right, don't do it. But then why do you do it? Because we all do. All the time. If it's not right, don't say it. Then why do you say it? Why do you feel that need? It's not that hard in most situations. Some situations are complicated, but in most situations it is not that hard to know right from wrong. To know what the right thing to do is and what the wrong thing to do is. And yet, people struggle with it tremendously. And make poor choices all the time. I do too. You know certain things that you should be doing, should not be doing, and yet you do those things or don't do those things. You know you should not be saying something, and yet you say that thing. You know that maybe you should not tell that gossipy story because there's really no reason to do it, but you do it anyway. Sola sublimis et excelsa virtus est, wrote Seneca. Only virtue is sublime and lofty. And that sums up Stoicism, by the way, also cynicism, very well. The most important thing is virtue. If you are not being virtuous, you cannot be happy. Because you are not doing the right thing, you're doing the wrong thing. And how can you be happy if you're doing the wrong thing? Well, we could have an interesting discussion about that. Think of all the whatever corrupt politicians or people who are only doing business to enrich themselves with utterly unethical practices, etc. But I do think that even there you could ask yourself, but at the end of the day, are they actually happy? Are they actually happy with what they are doing? Isn't there some sort of nagging thing going on? If we assume, just for the sake of argument, that virtue is the most important thing and that virtue is the key to eudaimonia, to a rich and fulfilling and happy life, then how can you achieve such a life without being virtuous? But being virtuous is hard. It's very hard. You have to do the right thing, not once in a while, but every time. Every time you face a choice where you can do A or you can do B, one thing may be the better option than the other. Every time you interact with people, there's an option to interact properly or an option to interact improperly, whatever that may mean, depending on the context. Everything you say, everything you do has moral consequences, down to the simplest things. And it's the virtuous deed that provides you with happiness and, I think, peace of mind. But if something is not right, then don't do it. If it is not true, don't say it. But we do this all the time, right? We say all kinds of things, even when they are not true. We know we shouldn't, but we do. One of the worst things in that regard, I think, is that we can even delude ourselves and believe things that we know are not true, and yet we start to believe them. And there actually are some sort of neural mechanisms in place to make sure that actually happens, that you start to believe what is not true, that you initially knew to not be true, you now take as true. Also a very scary thought in many ways, I think. Anyway, why don't we do that? If you have that choice, why do you do the wrong thing? Short-term gain, I think, is the fastest explanation, because at that point in time, doing that thing, even though it may be the wrong thing and deep down you know it's the wrong thing, it will give you personal gain. If it does not, why would you do it? If there is nothing in it for you, if you do not benefit from doing that thing, why would you be doing it? Another way to look at it is avoiding personal harm. Here I'm thinking the context of the white lie, right? Something, it's nothing terrible, but if you say this, then you may not get in trouble, even though you know well it's not true. I remind myself of this one quite a lot, because again, throughout the day you face choices. Will I do this? Will I not do that? Will I tell this? Will I not tell this story? What purpose is served by telling this story? I'm thinking of sort of like let's say a gossipy context, right? What purpose is really served? Well, I get to tell this story, but who is served and why? If it is not right, don't do it. If it is not true, don't say it. Such a short adage, such a short thing you can easily remember, and that everybody knows this. We're brought up believing this, knowing this, learning this, but we tend to forget this. I think sometimes we forget this thing. If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. My homework for this week is, with every decision I face, I'm going to try to remember that one sentence, and I'm really going to try to do the right thing every time, because at the end of the day, we all know what the right choice is. We'll know what the right choice is, and then I'm going to see what happens, of curiosity. That's what I'll do. Let me know what you think about this statement, how you perceive it, if there are ways that you apply this into your life, and how you do it. How do you remind yourself of how and why to do the right thing? I find that interesting to read. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate the viewership. These are interesting videos to do, and the comments that they evoke are very interesting to read. So I always really enjoy this. I hope this was useful, and I'm glad to see you later. Bye bye.